You just can't help but despise the man.
Kohli was growing in confidence. He had a new name, job, identity, and despite already having a wife and 2 children in Southampton, he decided to remarry, bigamously.
It's almost chameleon-like. He's just started a new life over again. There's no thought of his wife, no thought or contact with his 2 sons. He's just cut that off, and he's just decided to start again. He felt safe, he felt secure, he thought, he felt that he got away with it.
But Hampshire Police and the Fosters were about to play their ace card. In an unprecedented move, Hillary and Trevor travelled to India and appealed directly to 1.2 billion Indians for help.
We're determined to make the most of this, our time in India, and do everything we can to raise the profile of the case and to help the police.
The reward of £70,000 had stood in India for 6 months, but still nobody had come forward. The Fosters going out there in person was the ace card. If this didn't bring Kohli out of the woodwork, then nothing would.
Knowing we were not there to help her in her hour of greatest need, it leaves us with a sense of guilt we will carry to our graves.
They just basically, on a person-to-person level, just appealed to them, just please help us. We can't do it without you.
She didn't deserve to die so young, in such a callous and terrifying manner. Her killer must be brought to justice.
The media picked it up big time. All the national news channels picked it up.
पिछले साल इंग्लैंड के शहर साउथहैम्पटन में बलात्कार
दबदबाई आंखों से हाना के पिता ने चंडीगढ़
Their press conference was a prime time news story for us.
Hillary and Trevor's emotional appeal moved the Indian nation to join the fight for justice.
They understood, they sympathized. It was a sad, moving story with parents making an emotional appeal, and with Indians, emotion really works.
Until now, only a few really knew about the hunt for Kohli. But not anymore. The Fosters' message hit even the remotest parts of India.
I saw his pictures on the telly, and it was a disguised photo, like with all the beards and heady scarf. But his eyes looked very familiar to me, and I thought it's Mike Dennis. So I phoned the helpline.
I just turned to the TV and I just tried to look at him, And as soon as I saw him, I started to shiver myself. I knew this guy.
Kohli knew his time was up. Everywhere he went, people looked for him.
Kohli had fled Kalimpong, and he was actually with his wife, Bharti, and they were making their way towards the Nepalese border.
And if he made it over the border, he really would disappear forever, as there was no extradition treaty with Nepal.
We had almost lost hopes. We felt that maybe he has given us a slip. Then one of the officers rings me up and tells me that we are getting information that he is going to a relative's house in Panighata.
Their information was right. Kohli had made his way to his wife's family just 30 minutes from the border. The West Bengal police knew they had to act immediately.
We decided we should alert our local police station unit. The officer in charge, Mr. V.K. Singh, he reaches that house and he says that he has gone to a nearby bus stand to catch a bus.
But Rajiv's officers were still 2 minutes away, and Kohli was about to board a bus to Nepal and freedom. So Rajiv phoned through all the information he had to a local off-duty officer. Look for a man in a red T-shirt travelling with a woman.
This guy is not part of the operations. He doesn't know who is Maninder Pal Kohli. Then he comes across a lady and a man who is wearing a red t-shirt. He did not accept that he is Maninder Pal Kohli. He gave a false name.
Kohli claimed his name was Mike Dennis.
Why should I go with you?
The local police officer didn't believe him, and 16 months after murdering and raping Hannah Foster, he was arrested.
If the West Bengal police hadn't have acted the way they did, he could well have gone across the border, and that would have been it. We wouldn't have ever seen him again.
Kohli was just minutes from getting away with this murder. If that bus had come along, he'd have been across the border, he'd have been safe.
It was such an amazing experience to hear that he actually been arrested.
It was totally unexpected, and probably all the better for it, really.
I was elated, absolutely elated, and so fantastic that it had happened while the Fosters were there.
Never in our wildest dreams did we expect an arrest to be made while we were in the middle of this short visit.
All the Indian journalists were around them, slapping on the back, just cheering with them. It had come so quickly, and I think, you know, that they had sort of resigned themselves to the fact that they might not ever find him. But to actually be in India, be there, and know that he was coming down to Delhi, and, you know, that he would have his day in court and they would have their day in court, it was just a marvellous feeling.
And then the investigation took an almost unbelievable turn, as the man who for the past 16 months had lied to his friends and refused to speak to the police suddenly found his voice and for once told the truth.
He sat down and, you know, I started by, I think, asking the most obvious questions, and I was really surprised that he was actually quite forthcoming.
Actually, I done a crime over there. That's why I, ran from there to come in here.
What happened?
I abducted, raped and killed Hannah Foster.
Why are you admitting this to the media? Why are you admitting this now?
Because I am already too tired, to run here and there, and I want to unburden myself. I totally want to tell the truth.
And then he went on to tell me all these details about how he'd followed her, and I remember, even about the fact that how he'd strangled her.
And I just, strangled her, like just the whole with that way, and put a hand on her mouth and killed her.
The way he talked about it, the way he described it, it was so clear that he was guilty.
Despite Kohli's confession, within days he reverted to lying. The battle to bring him back to face British justice would not be straightforward. After spending 16 months on the run, this man, Maninder Pal Singh Kohli, had at last been arrested by Indian police.
I abducted, raped and killed Hannah Foster.
His arrest came after an emotional appeal direct to the Indian population by Hannah's parents.
She didn't deserve to die so young, in such a callous and terrifying manner.
Hampshire detectives were now attempting something never achieved before, to extradite an Indian national to the UK.
In terms of the legislation and the extradition, that was new territory. Nobody had been successfully extradited under that particular piece of legislation between India and the UK.
After a 16-month manhunt, Trevor and Hilary were about to meet the man who raped and murdered their teenage daughter.
It wasn't actually until I came face to face with him that I turned to Trevor and I said, I understand this word hatred. He looked so cocky and sure of himself in the court, surrounded, his brother there, and it was just sort of like a joke. Both Trevor and I were just shaking with rage.
I want to say only one thing, that he is an innocent, and he has been framed only for being an Asian.
Kohli only thought about himself, and his prime motivation